Hello, welcome to Live with Anton Gunn. It is Wednesday, 2 p.m. East Coast time, 11 a.m. Pacific. To everybody who's in the Central or Mountain time zone, be sure to get in where you fit in. I'm super excited about being with you today, as I am every Wednesday. I do this every week because I like to do my best to try to give some weekly value to people. And today I have a topic that is not really a topic, it's really just sharing. And what do I mean sharing? Is that I want to share with you some resources and books that I have read, that I continue to read, that I use to grow myself as a leader. Now, the main reason why I'm offering this session today and talking about books is because no matter where I am, no matter where I travel, I get asked incessantly. Like, for instance, I'll give a keynote speech at a conference or an event, and I won't take Q&A because the schedule doesn't allow me the opportunity to take Q&A. But I'll do a keynote from the stage. I'll talk about all these leadership principles, and inevitably somebody will come up to me after the event. I'm shaking hands, I'm taking photos, and they will say, Anton, I got your books, so I'm going to get all of your books, but I want to continue to grow as a leader. Are there other resources and books that I should grab, or is there anything that I should really take ownership of, or to grow myself as a leader? What are you reading? I mean, I know you read your own books or wrote your own books, so you don't need to read them, but what other books are you reading? People really want to know what other books I'm reading. So after getting asked this question more than, 1,000 times, I'm just being facetious, but I get asked that question a lot. What are you reading as a leader? I literally put together a resource guide. I called it my 44 leadership resource guide. And the reason why I call it 44 is because when I started making a list, I wrote down 11 books. I wrote down 11 podcasts, 11 videos, or 11 writings, because sometimes I get leadership inspiration, not just from books, but from things that have been written. One example of that is a letter from a Birmingham jail written by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or literally spoken by him, but transcribed by his assistant, who put it all, and it became a letter from a Birmingham jail, which we all know is a famous piece of writing, but there's some incredible leadership tips in there, and I added that to my list. I also added the names of people that I follow, that I read their writings, I read their blogs. So I've given a lot of resources to people over time, and I put it together in a document and shared it. But today, what I want to do is really like have a show and tell opportunity for you. So you can't see it on screen, but I got some of my favorite books here right in front of me. And so for the next 20 to 25 minutes, if you got a pen, if you got a pad, if you got a piece of paper, if you're documenting anything, you might want to document some of these books that I'm going to share. If you don't want to document, you can't document because you're at work or someplace where you don't have the ability to kind of write them down, I would tell you to bookmark this video. Don't be afraid to share it with friends or family or other leaders who you think need to learn and grow, because I'm going to do some show and tell and walk through some books. And as it comes to me, I'm going to share the greatest nuggets that I took away from each one of those books. So before I start talking about all of that, I got to do the shameless plug and start with the very first book that I wrote, called The Audacity of Leadership. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this book is because it was my very first one. I've been told by friends, Anton, you need to write a book. You're a young leader in your early 30s, and you are doing all these phenomenal things. What lessons do I need to know if I want to assert myself as a leader? And I say, well, you don't need to assert yourself. You need to have the audacity to believe that you deserve to lead. That's really what the book is about, is that, you shouldn't wait for permission to lead. I mean, that's the biggest problem that we see in business and in organizations today, is that people are waiting for permission, or they're waiting for somebody else to show up. They're waiting for somebody to tell them, hey, you can step up to the plate and take a leadership role now. So I'm reminding people in this book, you don't need to wait to lead. You just need to have the audacity, the unmitigated gall, and the boldness to believe that you can lead. And those are the 10 essentials to be a transformative leader in the 21st century. And I use some reference points from other leaders throughout history and in hip hop, also in sports and lots of other things to talk about how you can be a leader. That's my first book. Now, the second book that I wrote was called The Presidential Principles. Now, I know some of you know that I worked for President Barack Obama at a point in time in my life and my career. But you may not know that because of my family circumstances, because of being connected to the military, I've actually had personal life experiences with 6 U.S. presidential administrations. I mean, like literally serious experiences, not just the casual shake your hand and keep moving kind of experience, but literally conversations and engagement, personal interactions in some way with the senior most leader of the free world, and that is the president of the United States and the team around them. So in my book, The Presidential Principles, I distill down in the shortest form possible what are some of the impactful lessons that you can learn from U.S. presidents, or more specifically, the lessons I learned from my personal experiences with those presidents, and how that can be a metaphor for how you as a leader can have a presidential impact on the lives of other people. Because we all can have a presidential impact on the lives of someone. You may not be the president of the United States, but you might be president of your local PTA. You may not be president of the local PTA, but you might be the president of your company. And if you're not the president of the PTA of your company or the United States, you might be the person who has the presidential role in your family. You might be the person that everybody looks to make decisions about what goes on in the family. So it doesn't matter where you sit in your family or in your birth order or your community or your company, you can lead like a president, a positive president, an impactful president, a president who is trying to make the world a better place, not one that's trying to be selfish, not one that's trying to make themselves rich. And so my book focuses on the presidential principles that if you want to have a lasting impact, if you want to inspire people to action, these are the principles that I learned from the encounters that I've had with other presidents. Now, I want to give you my third book, and I think I've talked about this book before, and I know I have. It is called Just Lead: 44 Actions to Break Down Barriers, Boost Your Retention, and Build a World-Class Culture. Now, this is probably my most direct and simplest book. Not a lot of storytelling. I do have a few stories in there, but I wrote this book because I want leaders to know you got to take action. If you want your organization to be better, if you want to build an inclusive culture, if you want to keep your best employees from leaving the organization, you need to just lead. And here are actions, day-to-day, instrumental, simple, direct things that you can do to build a world-class culture. So that is my third book, and it is called Just Lead. If you want all of these, you know you can find them by going to antongunn.com. You can go to Amazon. You can go to whatever platform in which you buy your books or like to buy your books, you can get it. I don't have them in audio, okay? And I'm not the audio guy for books yet. And the reason why I'm not, because I'm the kind of guy who likes to read. And I know everybody's not like me, but if you don't like to read, then maybe my book ain't for you, and that's okay. But if you want to be a better leader, you're willing to go through whatever it takes for you to be a better leader. Leadership is not always about convenience. Sometimes it's about doing the things that you don't want to do to have the impact that you want to have. And that's why I write books and provide them in a written format, in an ebook format for people in order to be able to read. So that's just my personal plug. You ain't got to like it, love it. You can leave it alone. But that is my framework. Okay, so let me move on to some other books because I see time ticking away and I got a stack of books that I want to get through for all of you. So the first one that I'm going to share with you is a book that I read when I was a teenager. Now, when I say read this book as a teenager, I grew up in Hampton Roads, Virginia, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake. Those are my cities that I lived in coming up. And as a young kid, there was a lot of things that I was trying to learn and understand about the world. I was trying to make sense of race. I was trying to make sense of, life and poverty and all of these other issues. And I don't even remember how I got directed as a book. I believe that it was something that I heard Chuck D or Public Enemy say in a song or an interview or an article, but they directed me to this book. It is called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Okay. The Spook Who Sat by the Door is a fiction book. I don't even like fiction. I'm not a fiction reader. I really haven't. This might be the only fiction book that I've read cover to cover, and not just one time, but multiple times. But this is a fictional story about a difficult time in America's history during segregation, or right at the end of segregation and integration. And where the lead character in the book, is a smart, stellar athlete who gets recruited to be one of the first ever CIA officers. And the book tells a story about what it's like becoming a CIA officer, but more specifically, what are some of the personal circumstances that the lead character has to deal with, and what their own personal directions and commitments and interests are. So one of my favorite books of all time, Spook Who Sat by the Door. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to love it. You ain't even got to read it. But it is one of the most important books, because I've kind of always been like the lead character in this book. Smart, insightful, learning, but many times didn't fit into a lot of places that I was going. I've been the youngest person in the boardroom. I've been the only person of color in the boardroom. I've been everything by myself plenty of times. And there was a lot of things about this book that resonated with me, particularly how I use the things that I learned to help other people. That's my focus. And so Sam Greenlee used and not Sam Greenlee, he wrote the book, but Freeman in the book, the lead character in the book, used all that he learned to help people back in his community to their strength and growth and development, and maybe not to the betterment of everybody else. But the book was phenomenal, award-winning book, and I can tell you so many people found inspiration in that book. Okay, so let me get to a couple others while I got you here. The next book that I read as a young man, and my mom gave me this book, and I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't come from a family of people who were business owners or business leaders. But I think my mom gave me this book when I was a senior in high school. Okay. This is the book that she gave me. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm pretty sure everybody in America has heard of this book. Like, this might be the third most printed book behind the Bible. And I don't even know what the second most printed book is. But this book right here is, kind of, the blueprint for how do you get the right mindset around wealth building. I think if you're going to be in a leadership role, you always should be thinking and growing rich, whether you're growing spiritually rich, socially rich, culturally rich, economically rich, or financially rich. You should be thinking and growing rich. And this book really is a blueprint. And I know some folks of mine in the speaking industry, Ann McNeil, who leads a mastermind every year, and the framework is around this book, because it really is about setting mental goals and then talking about what you would do to achieve those goals. And the book, really frames work around financial goals, but there's so many other goals that people could assess and achieve to. So there you have it. Think and Grow Rich, another book that adds value. Okay. So now I'm going to go to some more important books that have been instrumental in my leadership development journey. And one of them is, of course, by John Maxwell. This book is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This is like my first foray into leading people. It was 1990 something, 98, 99. I'm doing community work, trying to figure out how to motivate people to get involved in issues that were affecting our community. And I wasn't doing a good job of leading them. I was doing a good job of inspiring them and motivating them, but sometimes people wouldn't show up. And I learned that I was doing it all wrong. And this book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, taught me how I should be doing it the right way. So fantastic book there. Now, I know I've shared this book with you all before. This is a phenomenal book. It's called The Team of Rivals. This book is about Abraham Lincoln's presidential leadership journey and how he built his cabinet. And there's some great lessons in this book, because the reason why it's called Team of Rivals is because the people that Abraham Lincoln asked to join him in leading the nation right before the Civil War were all people who were his political rivals, people who he didn't get along with, people who he didn't agree with, people who didn't like him, thought that he didn't even deserve to be president, but they put their egos aside and joined his leadership team. And he had to do some particular things to get to know those people, to bring the best out of them, to get them committed to serving the bigger mission and not just focusing on how they didn't always agree with him. So the Team of Rivals really talks about the political genius of Abraham Lincoln. It's a great, great book. Okay, so now here's another book that I want to give you. This comes from one of my favorite Christian authors, and I'm a professed Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ, died for my sins, and rose from the grave to give me the opportunity to be better, to live more Christ-like. And one of the people who writes books in that vein, but it really is a total leadership book, is Dr. Myles Munroe. And this book is called Discover the Hidden You. Myles Munroe is someone who I quote often in my keynote speech, because he has one of the greatest quotes of all time to me, which is, "Success without a successor is a failure." And so he written a lot of great books, and this is The Secret to the Good Life. And I love this book. There's a lot of nuggets in here that I find incredible value in. So I thought I would share it with you. Now, here's another book that's kind of unconventional in that space. I got two teal colored books that's coming, so it might contrast with my shirt a little bit, but hopefully it don't blow you away too much. And that is this book called Your Best Year Ever. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can angle it in a little bit. The Best Year Ever, and it's written by Michael Hyatt. Okay. This book is really a book that you should read in January, but whenever your year starts, or whether your year starts in June or your year starts in September, your year starts in January, it doesn't matter when your year starts, but this Your Best Year Ever is really like a goal setting, game plan type of book. It is phenomenal. And it is one that got me clarity in an important time as I was focused on trying to grow my business. This book, Your Best Year Ever, was great for me. There's an assessment tool in this book. You can like assess the 10 domains of your life to see where you're strong, to see where you're weak, and then help you to set goals in each one of those areas. So like one example goal is around family and relationships. It's not even about business, or it's not even about life, but what's your goal for your family? Is it to take a vacation with your family? Is it to spend a Friday night date night with your wife? Or is it to, book a daddy-daughter trip for you and your child to go out of town and spend some time together? But I will tell you, this book, The Best Year Ever, did a whole lot for me, and it helped me to grow as a leader and helped me to focus on game planning and outlining what I want to get done as a leader. Now, here's another teal book. This is one that I really love, and it's called Rethinking Success, and it's written by J. Douglas Holliday. I know Doug Holliday. He's a great guy. The subtitle of the book is 8 Essential Practices for Finding Meaning for Work and Life. Okay. Now, the reason why that's important is because some people think leadership is all about just achieving the goal. And I know I talk about that, but you got to understand that it really is about finding meaning in your work and life. That's what success looks like. The greatest success principle is to know why you do what you do, and who do you do it for, and what's the purpose behind it. Are you living to work? Are you working to live? So this book was great because, so many people are losing their soul in corporate America. They're losing their soul in business. They're losing their soul in all kinds of things that are not healthy for them. So this book is a great way for you to rethink what success is like. I find incredible value in this book, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, I'm going to jump to 3 other books that, again, go back to some things that are unique to me. This book by John Maxwell, and it's called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Okay. This is another John Maxwell book. The reason why this book is special to me is because John Maxwell sent me 25 copies of this book when it first came out. He sent me 25 copies in the early days of this book. I didn't pay for them. He gave them to me because he wanted me to use these books to help leaders to connect more with everyday people. And when was this happening? This is when I was in the legislature. I'm a former member of the South Carolina House of Representatives. I got elected to public office on November 4th, 2008, and served 1 term in the state legislature, 2009, 2010. And John Maxwell sent me 25 copies of this book to make sure that I gave it to other leaders so they could get better, that they could connect more with people and not just communicate. Because we can look at our political landscape right now and see how people talk past each other. They don't talk to each other. They don't talk with each other. They're trading barbs and yelling at each other. Everybody's got their talking points. Everybody's got their rhetoric and their narrative. And this book was around, listen, you need to connect with people, not just communicate. And the leaders who connect are the ones who find success. Just think about the leaders that you find the most inspirational, the leaders that you find the most powerful. They don't just communicate to you, they connect. And so that book was instrumental in helping me to connect. Now, here's another book. I got two more after this. I got three more, but two more after this one. This book is by Russell Simmons. It's called Do You? 12 Laws to Access Power in You and to Achieve Happiness and Success. Now, I'm going to put this book down very quickly because there's a foreword in this book by somebody who will remain nameless, but he was the 45th president of the United States. But on the back of it, there's a praise for this book from Nas. Nas is one of my favorite hip hop artists of all time. Russell Simmons, if you don't know who he is, he's the co-owner, co-founder, co-developer of the first ever hip hop label. When I said not first ever, because Sylvia Robinson, who founded Sugar Hill Records, that was the first rap label. But I think Sugar Hill had other stuff. But Def Jam started off exclusively as a hip hop label, and Russell Simmons was the leader of that label, and he has achieved incredible success in business and life. But he wrote this book called Do You. Here's the main takeaway for me from the book Do You, is that book gave me permission to be authentically me in every aspect of my life. I am a corporate keynote speaker. I am a leadership consultant, and I'm an author. When you hear those three words, you don't think hip hop. You don't think rap fan. You don't think, all of the things. You don't even think athlete. You don't even think like former college football player. And so early in my career, I tried to suppress the things that made me me. I literally did not talk about hip hop. I did not share that I was a lover of hip hop music and culture, particularly classic hip hop music. I didn't want to talk about football. I didn't want people judging me because they knew that I played football. They would put this label on me as a dumb jock. I'm not a dumb jock. I've never been a dumb jock. And let me be clear. I don't know a single football player that is a dumb jock. Because in order for you to be effective and successful playing college football, memorizing a playbook and formations and offenses and defenses and knowing down and distance situation and remembering the things that you need to do, that takes complex brain power in order to be able to do it. But somehow society has taught us that football players are dumb jocks. And yes, football players do dumb stuff, right? But people who aren't football players do dumb stuff every day. We got people who are pretending to be kidnapped, and we got other people who are running across the DMZ into North Korea doing dumb stuff, and they may or may not have played sports in their lives. So there's no monopoly on boneheadedness, and it's not disproportionately high in football players. But many times, because of how football players was labeled, I didn't want anybody to know that I was an athlete. I didn't want them to see me as an athlete. I knew I was a big guy and you couldn't avoid it. But some people would ask me, Anton, did you play football? I would tell them no. I was a swimmer. And they would look perplexed and like, really? You were a swimmer? And then I tell them, no, I actually play football, but I don't want you to judge me because I play football. And so I wouldn't tell people who I was. In this book by Russell Simmons, Do You, gave me permission that I really didn't need, but it was a mind adjustment to say that I can do me and I can be authentic. And we all know my friend Aaron Hazzikostas, who owns the market on authenticity from a leadership standpoint. knows that when organizations have authentic leaders, they have better culture, they have better engagement and better success. And that she used authenticity to transform an organization as a CEO. And I use authenticity in everything that I do. So I don't run from my love of hip hop. As a matter of fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm preparing that for the whole month of August, I'm going to teach leadership lessons connected to the music and the culture and the life of hip hop music. We're 50 years into hip hop. And August 11th, 1973 is when, Kool Herc had this house party for his sister's back to school jam that we all kind of recognize as the birth of hip hop. So I want to use the month of August to teach leadership from a hip hop perspective and tell some of my stories and experiences and my knowledge about hip hop, but give you the takeaway of leadership. And what gave me permission to do that was Russell Simmons' book, Do You. Okay. Now, I got 2 more books for you. And these are incredibly important books for all leaders out there. The first one is this one by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. And every leader needs to inspire people and to take action. But what you need to understand, and if you don't understand this, I really want you to understand this point. If you didn't listen to anything that I said today, I want you to understand this point. And that is, until you communicate the why with people, the what and the how will not matter. Let me rephrase it. So many leaders like to come into the corporate work environment and tell their team, this is what we need you to do, or this is how you do the thing that we need you to do. They love talking about the what and the how. They'll tell people the what and the how every day. And employees will do it. And they'll sometimes say, you need to do the what and do it how I told you because I'm paying you. That they take a transactional approach to leading teams. Do what I say and do it how I told you to do it. But they never communicate why is it important for you to do it? Why is it mission critical for you to do it? And let me give you this other news flash. If you lead today in any industry or organization, you have about 40 to 60% of your workforce who could care less about the what and the how. They want to know the why. The number of millennial and Gen Z employees who want to work for an organization that has a purpose. They want to work for leaders who have values and have a purpose is growing every day. This number of people who want that is growing every day. And Simon Sinek book gives everybody a great framework of starting with why. Before you get to the what, before you get to the how, before you get to the where and the when, tell me why. Here's another why that leaders should be unpacking. Why do you choose to lead? Everybody doesn't have to lead. Why do you choose to lead? Why do you choose to work here? What is the value proposition alignment between you and the company? What are your values? That is the underlining message of why do you do what you do as a leader? Great book, great questions to answer if you're in a leadership role. Now, the last book is probably the book that I will say transformed me after my darkest and deepest moment. I know many of you know that on October 12, 2000, my younger brother, Sharon Gunn, was killed by 2 Al-Qaeda suicide bombers aboard the USS Cole on October 12, 2000. And that was one of the most devastating events of my life. And for a time after losing my brother, I was rudderless. And when I mean rudderless, I was doing good work in the community before, but when my brother died, nothing really mattered. I felt, what's the point of me trying to save communities and help low income people in communities when I couldn't even help save my brother? I couldn't even be there for my family. I felt like I lost my purpose when my brother died. It was also around the same time that I renewed my faith and my relationship to Christ, that I was able to get my hands on a book that set me on a pathway that I'm currently on right now with each and every one of you. And that book is Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Now, I know so many people have read the book Purpose Driven Life. They've seen the book, they might have heard about it, they know what's in it. But I'm going to tell you that this book answered for me the question, what on earth am I here for? What am I supposed to do with my dash? Now, y'all know what I mean when I say dash. This is an old cliche that you probably have heard in 50,000 videos and keynote speeches, that each one of us has a birth date, and then each one of us has a death date. And so the question is, what's in between your birth date and your death date? It's a dash. That dash is symbolic of your life. So what is the purpose of your life? What did you do with your dash? Well, I knew that I was doing something with my dash. I read enough books before, as you can see, that I knew there was some purpose or something I was supposed to do. But I lost my way when my brother was killed. I really didn't know what was going on. I was angry. I was angry. I was so angry. It was some of the darkest times in my life. I was angry. I was sad. I was emotional. I was everything wrong. But I want you to know that purpose-driven life gave me clarity, gave me direction, gave me a grounding, helped with my healing, helped with my understanding that this life is not about me. This life is about you. My life is about you. It's about serving others, empowering them, helping them to be better than they were before, and helping the people around them to be better. And that my legacy will be built and tied to how big of a difference I make in the world. And so if you look at any of the 3 books that I've written, if you look at the places where I speak, the content that I create, my YouTube channel, my books, my resources, if you look at everything that I do, then you know it's all aligned around helping you to be a leader who helps to make the world more just, more fair, more equitable, more right for all of the people that you come in contact with. That's what this is about for me. Nothing more, nothing less. And so everything that I create, everything that I think about is about bringing that tapestry of all of those different aspects of my life together to capture the hearts, the minds, the attention, and the focus of people who want to make a difference and get promoted, not so you can just make more money, but because you can have a greater impact. Or running for mayor or city council, not because you want to have a big title and people to pat you on the back, but because you know you can have a greater impact. That you want to be the leader that everyone will admire. That you want to build those teams. That all came crystal clear to me after Purpose Driven Life. So with that, I want to say it's been great sharing all of these resources with you. I will try to list them all out somewhere, but I'm gonna just tell you, like this video, share it, send it to a friend, bookmark it, download it, whatever you got to do. be okay with going back and watching this one over and over again, because I gave a lot of resources like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like 15 books. 15 books. But that's just only a fraction of the books that I read and that I have available to you. And so there's so much more for you. That's why I want you to download my Just Lead Toolkit. You go to antongunn.com/toolkit. You're going to get resources there. Or you can go to antongunn.com/resource guide and get my PDF resource guide that will help you to become a better leader. So I want to thank you for watching. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your week, and be excited and see me next Wednesday, the Wednesday after, and the Wednesday after that, for us to talk about hip hop, leadership, and share some stories and some lessons that are going to have a great impact on all of you. Have a great day.